Hi everyone, it's Rachel back with the Shades of Orange. Today I want to do a quick video sharing my TBR for the Medieval-A-Thon, which is created and hosted by Holly from Holly Hearts Books. I adore her channel. She reads fantasy and science fiction, and when I found out that she had created her own readathon, I definitely wanted to participate and support her, and it just sounded like a lot of fun. I've been reading a lot of horror and science fiction lately, so I kind of was in the mood to mix it up, and I thought this was the perfect excuse to do that. I'm going to link to her video because she's going to explain the readathon a lot better than I will here, but the general idea is that you want to read fantasy books that are set in that classic medieval style era, and the main goal is to rise up in the ranks of nobility. And so you start out as a peasant if you read one book, and if you read the maximum books of 6, you get to be a king, or in my case a queen. And because being a queen would be awesome, I've decided to make that my main goal, so I'm planning on reading 6 books that are fantasy themed in the month of July. And so I'm going to share those books with you, and then there's also some additional prompts that I'll go into, and I'm hoping to hit as many of those as possible because you want to get an armor set and also get some weapons to defend yourself. Alright, so in order to have a shot of actually completing this readathon, you're going to notice that I've picked out a very strategic TBR, and you're going to notice that the novels I picked out are really short, and I've also included some graphic novels. And that's just because July is already a really packed reading month for me. I am of course hosting my own read along, which is the Bloody Beach read along, and I'm also of course trying to catch up on a lot of review titles. I have a lot of horror and science fiction titles that I want to review this month, but I also want to participate, so I think I can manage to do all of that and still make it to becoming queen like my main goal is. Now first up I have Rat Queens, which is a graphic novel that is about a group of bar maidens that go on adventures as mercenaries for hire. And this just sounds like a lot of fun. It's also one of Holly Hart's favorite books, and I definitely took some inspiration from her favorite books when compiling this list, so hopefully she enjoys that. But this one just sounds like a lot of fun, lots of humor and adventures, so sounds like a good one to get through, and of course very short because it is a graphic novel. Next I have a book called The Armor Saint by Mike Cole, which is set in a fantasy world that is controlled by a religious order that has banned magic users. So at the beginning of the story, they are going after any wizards or potential magic users out there. It's supposed to be super short, super fast-paced and action-packed, very military focused, and again, Holly loves this book, so I've been meaning to check it out for quite a while, and the Fantasy-a-thon seemed like a perfect excuse to do that. Speaking of Holly's favorites, I also have one of her favorite authors on this list. That's right, I'm planning on reading Half a King by Joe Abercrombie, which is her recommendation where to start with his work. This is an adult fantasy, but I understand that it has YA crossover appeal. It's about a young prince who was born with a deformed arm, and so he was never expected to rule. However, something happens and his family is taken out and he is put in that position, and the story really goes from there as he is forced to fight for and keep his kingdom. So I've heard great things about this. It sounds like a lot of fun, and while this is a chunkier looking book, the writing is huge, and I think it's only 300 and some pages, so I should still be able to fly through this within the month. So looking forward to this one as well. And finally, I have a couple of manga to round out the list. One of them is Berserk, which I understand is a super dark, violent manga that is about a man named Guts who has a giant sword and just goes around killing people. I don't know actually much more than that, but it is definitely a beloved manga series that I've been meaning to check out for a really long time. So I will hopefully enjoy this one. I only have the first volume, but it is quite a long-running series, I understand, so I've got lots to get into if it is something I enjoy. The other manga I want to check out is Claymore, which is about a world that has monsters, and so with monsters you also need monster hunters, which is what the Claymore are. They are part human and part monster themselves, and they go around killing these beasts in order to maintain their own humanity. I remember watching the series on Netflix when the anime was on there, and it got taken off before I got to finish, and I really enjoyed it, so I always meant to go back And because I haven't been able to actually watch the TV show, I thought I would go back to the source material and hopefully I will really enjoy this. I have the first volume and I also picked up the second volume, which will get me up to that 6-book mark. So if I read all of the books I just showed you, I will get to the 6 books. That will make me a queen. So that's my main goal for the readathon. And I'm hoping within the month I have 31 days. It seems reasonable, especially with the books that I checked out. And to make the readathon even more fun, Holly came up with a plan where you can read certain books in order to get weapons to defend yourself. There are 4 weapons available and I think I'm eligible to get 3 of them. I'm planning on using rat queens to do that. One is to get a sword by finding something pointy on the cover, and this person has a sword here, which makes it pretty easy and straightforward. You can also get a bow and arrow by reading a book about elves, and I know this book features an elven character, so that works well. And you can also get an axe by reading a book with mercenaries, and this is a group of bar maidens for hire, which to me sounds like a group of mercenaries, so I think this book will get me all 3 of those. Unfortunately, I don't think any of the books I showed you feature an assassin, so I don't think I can get the daggers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there is an assassin main character in any of these books, so I might be out of luck on getting the sweet assassin daggers. Finally, Holly came up with some fun prompts in order to get an armor set, and I think I can get at least part of one. In order to get a crown, I need to find a character that is fighting for their own kingdom, and that should work really well with half a king. There's also a prompt to get a jacket or a cloak, and that involves having red on the cover, which works for this book as well. And also, in order to get a chest piece, you need to find a book that is shiny. And because all of these are library books with that really annoying crinkly plastic paper on them, this works for this book as well. You can see it always shines when I try to hold it up on camera, which is why I hate showing library books on camera. There is also a prompt to get a helmet, which involves finding a book with a dragon on the cover. So I'm hoping that this is a dragon on Rat Queens. It might be a snake, but I'm calling it a dragon for now. So hopefully I will get a helmet out of that. And there's also a challenge to read something that is yellowed, which will get me boots. And I noticed that my copy of Half a King's is very yellow, so that'll work very nicely. It's always a great thing with library books. So that should work just fine. The only prompt I wasn't able to get in terms of armor was the pants one, because that involves reading a really thick paperback. And probably the thickest book I have here is Half a King, which came through in hardcover. And I just don't really think I can count any of these mangas as very thick. You could call it thick, but this really won't take me long to get through. So I don't think my character is gonna have pants. So the plan is I'm gonna be queen, I'm gonna have a crown, but probably no pants, which I'm okay with. I actually played through Diablo 2 without any pants on, much to my husband's frustration. I just thought it was super funny to run around in armor and little underwear. So this kind of fits me very well in terms of my fantasy playstyle. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. I will report back in some way, whether it be here or on Twitter, how my readathon is coming along and if I'm able to successfully secure my kingdom, or in my case, a queendom. So that is everything I have for you today. Let me know if you have any thoughts on any of the books I mentioned. I'd love to know if you're also participating. Share your TBR down below as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Don't worry, I'll be back with some usual horror content very soon. Thanks, and I'll talk to you again later. Okay, bye.